Howdy folks, welcome back to Southwest Victory Gardens. My name is Brandon. On this channel we talk all about backyard gardening in desert climates. So I want to thank you for checking out this video and tuning into my channel. I really appreciate it. One of the things we try to do here is we understand that backyard gardening and organic gardening especially, has some barriers for folks, and we try to work hard at making sure that, anyone could start a vegetable garden, and if there's any way, that we can make gardening more accessible, we try and do that as best as we can. So with that in mind, I wanted to do another video on how we can sort of save money in our backyard gardening endeavors by making our own fertilizer. So if you've ever looked at a bag of organic fertilizer, you might have been pretty shocked at the price. I remember when I first started gardening and I went to go buy a bag of blood meal because I read that blood meal was a really good organic fertilizer, and I went to go buy some, and it was like a 20-pound bag was like $45, $50 or something like that. And so I soon realized, organic gardening was a little bit more expensive than I thought it was going to be. And I've worked for companies whose my job was to sell fertilizers. And when I would look at the back of the bags of fertilizer and I'd read the ingredients, I'd realize, they all have the same ingredients. If it's a bag of rose food, if it's a citrus fertilizer, if it's palm tree or tomato fertilizer, all of them were for different plants, or at least the packaging said they were for different plants. But if you looked at the ingredients, they were all the same ingredients on the back. So what I learned was, plants can't read bags of fertilizer. Plants don't care what's in a bag of fertilizer. If you're giving them an organic fertilizer, they're gonna like it no matter what it is, and so I realized that there was really no need to go out and buy like super expensive fertilizers, especially since they're all basically the same anyway. In fact, if you look at bags of like dog food or cat food, you'll find that some of the ingredients are the same exact things in cat food that are in our bags of organic fertilizer. So, why am I not using cat food on my trees? What's wrong with that? So I started learning a little bit more about fertilizers and what they are and where they come from. And what I soon learned was that there are a lot of, quote unquote fertilizers that are used to make animal feed, right? So if you make your own chicken food, or if you make your own pig feed, you can buy pre-mixed bags of pig feed or pre-mixed bags of chicken feed, obviously, or you can make your own. And a lot of people decide that, if they make their own, they can kind of control what's in it. You can put more protein, or no animals, if you want to have a vegan mix, something like that. So when I went to my local feed store, I found that a lot of the things that I knew as fertilizers could actually be bought as feed products. So you can see here, I have a variety of different products, and if you notice, none of them say fertilizer. No, you don't see any NPK numbers, you don't see any 222 or 200 or anything, right? Because these products, just like our cat food, aren't labeled as fertilizers, even though they are fertilizers, right? So anything that you buy that's made of plants or animals or minerals is a fertilizer, right? So if you go to the grocery store and you buy a bag of cat food, or you buy a bag of oatmeal, all of that could be fertilizer, right? It doesn't say fertilizer on it, but it is fertilizer if we want to think of it that way. If you label your product as fertilizer and it says fertilizer on the bag, then you have to put those numbers, 200 or the NPK numbers. But if you're just selling your product as alfalfa meal, as a dried product, not as a fertilizer, then you don't have to put that on there, right? And so because these products aren't labeled as fertilizers, most people don't think of them as that, but this is the same alfalfa meal that you could buy in a bag of alfalfa meal fertilizer. The only difference is that these products are a fraction of the cost, right? So this 50-pound bag of alfalfa meal is about $25, about 50 cents a pound. You go online and you might be lucky if you could find that for about $1 a pound. Cottonseed meal, which is this bag right here, that bag is $17.50 a pound, right? And so you're spending about 43 cents a pound, or even less, by just buying that product there. I have soybean meal, kelp meal, fish meal, all of these products, which are fertilizers, I bought at my local feed store for a fraction of the price, okay? So here's a really common seaweed product, Maxi Crop Soluble Seaweed. This bag, it's about almost 2 pounds, cost me almost 20 bucks for it, right? So this product, actually this is closer to 40 bucks, excuse me. So this product, $20.59 a pound for seaweed powder. It's 0017, it's OMRI listed, all of that stuff. My dried kelp, that's organic and OMRI listed, $1.70 a pound at the feed store, right? So, you know, you can go on to, you know, Arbico Organics or any, you know, other groworganic.com and find a product like this and buy it like top shelf, or you can go to OK Feed on Dodge and Fort Lowell or your local feed store wherever you are and buy these products wholesale for a lot cheaper. All right, so what does that mean then? What can we do with these things that we can't do with the bag of, you know, over-the-counter fertilizer? Well, obviously, you know, these are 50-pound bags, and you're gonna need a lot of fertilizer if you're gonna wanna justify buying this much fertilizer, right? So this is obviously something that I would only recommend for folks who let's say you have a lot of citrus trees, right? And one lemon tree, a big lemon tree, can take about 30 pounds of fertilizer in 1 year. So let's say you have, you know, 3 or 4 lemon trees, that's over 100 pounds of fertilizer that you would need in just 1 year. So if you're putting that much fertilizer down, then this is a no-brainer, you know, this is definitely for you. If you have a small vegetable garden plot or a community garden plot, you know, it would take you a lifetime to go through the amount of fertilizer that I'm gonna make in just one batch today. So that's typically not gonna be as practical. So what I recommend is if you come down to the community food bank, you can make, you can buy this fertilizer. It's already pre-mixed and it's pre-weighed out. And you can buy a 25-pound, 5-gallon bucket for $30. So you get the bucket and you get 25 pounds of this fertilizer, and that's 30 bucks. Or you can just buy like a 3-pound bag for $3, right? So if you want just a small amount, you can buy a small bag. If you want, you know, a little bit more, you can buy a bucket. Or if you need a whole bunch, I'm gonna show you how you can just make your own. All right, so just like, you know, our plants or anything else, when we're thinking of what we wanna feed our soils or feed our plants, we don't just ever wanna just feed them the one thing, right? We can just give them alfalfa meal or just cottonseed meal or just soybean meal. But if we mix all of those things together, then we're gonna have a little bit more biodiversity in our fertilizer, a little bit more diversity in our soil, and all of the things that are, so some bacteria and some fungi might like alfalfa meal, some might like cottonseed meal, some might like the soybean meal. And so if we give them all of those different things together, it's just a little bit, you know, better fertilizer, right? So what we're gonna do is make a fertilizer using 4 ingredients, right? So all of the ingredients that we're gonna use in our mix are gonna be plant-based ingredients. So we're not gonna use any we're not gonna use any fish, we're not gonna use any bone, we're not gonna use any blood. So this mix could be considered a vegan mix if you wanna think of it as that, it's plant-based. So we're gonna use 3 plant-based ingredients and 1 mineral product, right? So the mineral that we're gonna use is sulfur, right? Elemental organic soil sulfur. And that's what you see on the very end here. It's called Dispersol is the product. And you can buy these 50-pound bags of Dispersol, 90% organic sulfur, or 90% sulfur at Sprinkler World. That's on Fort Lowell and it's like Fort Lowell and Stone, basically, is Sprinkler World. If you live in Phoenix, there's a bunch of locations there as well where you can purchase this product. You can also get it down at Nutrient Ag Solutions. A 50-pound bag will run you roughly 13 bucks, right? So that's pretty cheap. So you're gonna need 2 of those. That's gonna be 100 pounds. We're gonna use 2 50-pound bags of cottonseed meal. Now, there is a lot of debate about cottonseed meal. There are many in the organic community who feel that there is no such thing as organic cottonseed meal. Now, you can really go and you can debate a lot of things, right? Let's say, for example, we don't want to use cottonseed meal because we're concerned that it uses too much pesticides. We'd rather use alfalfa meal, okay? Well, alfalfa meal uses pesticides too, not as much as cotton, but alfalfa uses a lot of water. The other thing is that in alfalfa meal, we're getting about 3 times as less nitrogen than we get with our cottonseed meal. So it would take 3 fields of alfalfa to equal the same as 1 field of cottonseed meal. So if we're thinking about resource intensity, it takes about 3 times more resources to grow the same amount of alfalfa meal than it does for our cottonseed meal. And what I mean by that is that the nitrogen that we're getting out of our fertilizers, we get 3 times more out of our cottonseed meal than we do out of our alfalfa meal, roughly. All right, so we have to weigh that, right? So, you know, alfalfa meal may use less pesticides, but we're gonna have to use 3 times more, and so that means we're gonna use 3 times more of that product. And what is, you know, so we gotta weigh all of these things together. Soybeans, for example, maybe they're genetically modified soybeans. Who knows what's in there, right? It's very difficult to know. So if we start like nitpicking every little fertilizer, we're probably not going to find one that is, you know, completely squeaky clean. Unless it's like from a 100% organically grown field and you know that for a fact, then you'll probably be okay. But you know, you gotta really make those decisions for yourself. I've been using these products for years. I personally use products myself that I've eaten that contain cottonseed oil, oysters and things like that. So, you know, these are all things that we gotta, you know, make our own decisions on. So if you don't feel comfortable using these products, then you find one that you like. There is no organic cottonseed meal available, at least that I've found. Organic cotton is very difficult to grow. There's not very many organic fields, and the ones that are, I don't know if they process the seeds. So you can find organic alfalfa meal, you can find organic soybean meal probably, but I've never found organic cottonseed meal. But let's get back to what we're doing. So 2 bags or 100 pounds of cottonseed meal, and then 1 bag, a 50-pound bag of soybean meal, and 1 50-pound bag of alfalfa meal, right? So again, let's repeat that. 2 bags of sulfur, 2 bags of cottonseed meal, 1 bag of soybean meal, and 1 bag of alfalfa meal. We're gonna mix all of those together, and that's gonna make 300 pounds of a fertilizer that when we're all said and done, it's gonna have an NPK of about 522, 523, 532, somewhere in that ballpark, right? So this is a really great all-purpose fertilizer. You can use it in your vegetable garden. You can use it on your house plants. You can use it on cactus and succulents. You can use it on fruit trees. Citrus trees are especially respond really well to this fertilizer. So it's a really great all-purpose mix. Again, so there's no animal products in it. If you want to add fish meal or seaweed meal into it, you can. But I like using all plant-based fertilizers. I don't really see the need to use bone meal or blood meal or fish meal or feather meal or anything like that. But if you want to use those products, you can. Okay, so again, just to reiterate, you can get the Dispersol sulfur at Sprinkler World. It's about 13 bucks a bag. Cottonseed meal, alfalfa meal, and soybean meal can all be purchased at OK Feed on Dodge and Fort Lowell. Cottonseed meal is the cheapest. It's about $17.50 a bag. Alfalfa meal is about $25 a bag. Soybean meal is about $30 a bag. Soybean meal is the highest nitrogen. It's about 7. Alfalfa meal has a nitrogen of about 2. And cottonseed meal has a nitrogen of about 5 or 6, right? And so if you just want to use 1 bag of cottonseed meal for 17 bucks and just use that as your only fertilizer, you could do that. In fact, cottonseed meal is one of the best fertilizers for desert gardens because it's actually a little bit more acidic. And so our sulfur, which is going to add acidity to our mix and acidity to our soils, does that a lot better. But cottonseed meal will also acidify our soil, so it's a really good product. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna dump these bags out onto this tarp, mix them together, and that's how we make this fertilizer, right? and I store it in these trash cans that you see on the side here. That keeps it dry. You don't want to let this fertilizer get wet. If it gets wet, it's going to get really nasty. It'll attract flies, the maggots will grow in it, so you got to keep it sealed. But again, if you need a lot of fertilizer, if you have a community garden and you guys all want to go in together, when you make this and if you make it in this quantity, you're going to make 300 pounds. It's going to cost you about 45 cents a pound to make it. So that's cheaper than any fertilizer you will find on any website anywhere, and it's a really great, well-balanced fertilizer. It's plant-based and it's organic, right? So you know, it's kind of a really good thing for you to do if you are trying to save some money and you need a lot of fertilizer. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just dump this out on the tarp. It's gonna get really dusty. I might put a mask on. Anytime I'm working, especially alfalfa meal is just the worst. It's so dusty, so definitely want to wear a dust mask when doing this. I'm not going to use fish meal. I'm not going to use kelp meal. I just wanted to show you those products so you can see that you can buy those and they don't have to say fertilizer on them. So you can just see all of these different things here. All right, so if you have a question, you can leave a comment down below if you have questions on different fertilizers. If you want to argue about cottonseed meal or anything else, we can duke it out in the comments. That'll be fine. I enjoy lively conversation. I will also include down below a guide for how to use this fertilizer, how to use it on your vegetable garden, how to use it on your citrus trees, how to use it on your other fruit trees and things like that. But it's a really great fertilizer because 5 nitrogen fertilizer, 5% nitrogen fertilizer. For a vegetable garden, you're gonna put 1 pound for every 10 square feet each year. So it's really nice and even. So 1 pound, 10 square feet for every year. So if you have a 100 square foot garden, you're gonna put 10 pounds of this fertilizer on for the year, and that's it. So you can do, you know, a pound a month, you know, over the year, or you can put all 10 pounds on in January and then call it, you know, however you wanna do it. But that's basically how much you would use in a year. But I'll put that guide down below so you can print that out and you'll know how much you need to put. And also check out our video down below on how to use this fertilizer on citrus trees specifically. There's a lot of confusion on citrus trees and when they should be fertilized. So definitely check out that video if you want to learn more about fertilizing your citrus. All right, guys, so thank you for checking out this video. I'm just gonna dump this all out and mix it up, and we will see you in the next video. So thanks for checking it out. Again, I really appreciate it. Take care, guys. Bye.